Hi, I'm Quinn and I'm autistic. Welcome to Autistic. I don't usually do reviews, but on this occasion, the piece in question speaks deeply to that part of me which has always confused people. Those elements of my character that don't quite gel with others and lead to far too many hours of inner contemplation. In short, the autistic bits. About a week ago, I watched the Doctor Who episode The Star Beast. Now, if you're looking for a comprehensive review of a Doctor Who episode, that's not what this is. I mean, yes, I'm describing my feelings about it, but I'm not trying to convey a balanced, objective viewpoint. I'm not isolating it from the past 60 years of Doctor Who to evaluate it as a singular piece of art. I want to tell you why that hour of television meant so much to me in particular, and a lot of that personal meaning relates to my being autistic. All that being said, here's a huge spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't seen it but wants to. Don't watch this yet, because I will ruin the story for you. Don't even skip to the end, just stop it now and then bookmark the video so you can come back and watch it later. Okay? Everybody gone? Here we go. Doctor Who was a staple of wintry Saturday nights in our household, and a firm favourite of mine for as long as I can remember. When I was old enough, I started to read the novelisations of the TV serials, and I would scour second-hand bookshops at the weekend to add to my collection, one musty, brown-edged paperback at a time. When Doctor Who Weekly came out in 1979, my mum placed an order at the newsagents for me immediately, and you could rely on me sitting cross-legged and pyjamaed in the porch waiting for the morning paperboy on the days it came out. As I sat in front of BBC One on 25th of November this year to watch The Star Beast, I already knew it was based on an old serial from Doctor Who Weekly that I still remembered reading in that porch with my winter coat draped around my shoulders. A bait-and-switch story with a strong allegorical element that left a deep impression on my young mind on those chilly mornings of early 1980. The stories in Doctor Who Weekly were always a cut above most TV comic strip adaptations, but The Star Beast in particular really managed to capture the same qualities that made the Doctor Who TV show so relatable. Clearly, others were similarly impressed, since The Star Beast was adapted as an audio drama in 2019 by Big Finish Productions, and now Russell T Davies has brought it to the screen. The Star Beast lives in live action at last, and what a treat it was for this particular middle-aged autist. The episode is effectively two stories mashed together. The original comic outline is reproduced remarkably faithfully and provides a framework for the Doctor's reunion with former companion Donna Noble. The Star Beast in question is Beep the Meep, an alien from a crashed starship who's found by one of our protagonists. When they build the Sci-Fi Hall of Fame, the Meep will deserve its place alongside Baby Yoda, the Porgs and Tribbles in the cute section. It's a ball of fur with huge eyes that even I can't fail to notice, big cat-like ears and a heart-rending sense of vulnerability. The Meep needs help to escape from the big nasties, and we instinctively support our characters in helping them, especially when we meet the big green nasties in question. Of course, I said it's a bait and switch earlier, didn't I? The Meep is eventually revealed to be the last of a bloodthirsty race of killers who take delight in death and destruction, whom the Doctor must now defeat. It's a tried and tested formula, but to the 9-year-old autist sitting there in the porch, buzzing in equal parts from the excitement of a new comic and the fear of getting caught somewhere I shouldn't be, it felt like a triumph of validation. At that age, I was increasingly becoming frustrated with the hypocrisy and willful ignorance of so many people I met, and the Star Beast seemed to reflect so many of those confusions and concerns so well. Those who lied, deceived, cheated or abused in plain sight often got away with it because no one wanted to look under the surface details to see the beast beneath the fluff, and the Meep personified that perfectly. It's the same lesson as that old adage about being wary of wolves in sheep's clothing, but in a language that 9-year-old me was receptive to. The very fact that people told stories like this was proof that others saw what I did. The TV adaptation tickled every nostalgia bone in my body, and that's a big deal for autists, especially those of my age. Happy, secure memories of childhood can be a rare and precious commodity for many of us, so anything which evokes echoes of childhood joy or safety will open the nostalgia gates wide open. For that reason alone, The Star Beast felt like the perfect way to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who for me, because it made me feel like that 9-year-old ball of energy again for a little while. It brought back the joy, excitement and discovery that made the show so important for me back then and why it endures for me now. That's not why this episode inspired a video though. I mean, it's relevant, but it's not why it hit home so hard that I made a video about it. That part came towards the end of the hour. I said that the other side of the story was reintroducing the character of former companion Donna Noble. I'd always found it hard to warm to Donna in her time in the TARDIS, not because of the writing or of the performance, but because of my own hang-ups. Prior to being in Doctor Who, Catherine Tate starred in several series of her self-titled comedy sketch show, which I just couldn't watch. A couple of her more popular characters just upset me so much to watch because they reminded me powerfully of people I'd rather forget. Even though I didn't watch the show, those characters would pop up in clips on TV, she'd reprise them on charity specials, and people at work would quote their catchphrases. Some of them still do the rounds as memes to this day. It's no reflection on Catherine Tate as an actress, but I find it difficult to appreciate her performance while suppressing memories of childhood trauma prompted by characters she played years ago. It's irrational. I'm aware it is, but it's there. Yet, somehow, on Saturday just gone, that all melted to nothing, and Donna became the most glorious companion the Doctor ever had because of a few words spoken that summed up why the Doctor has always held such a special place in my heart. When the Doctor left Donna behind 15 years ago, he'd arranged for her to win the lottery. Big time, record-breaking prize type of thing. And she gave it all away to charity. That money was supposed to set her up for life, a gift of security and potential for her and her family. Why give it up? Because, she says, it's something you would do, Doctor, not her. She growls in her frustration at having thrown away a fortune because even after they parted, something of the Doctor's spirit remained within her, prompting her to do as he would do and put the money to good use to help those who needed it more. She describes the contrast all autistic people struggle to reconcile all our lives, the hypocrisy of the human condition. How someone can simultaneously admire and aspire to the finest and noblest of expectations, yet hate themselves for living up to them. Donna sums up exactly why, for me, the Doctor has long been the fictional character I'm most identified with. It wasn't just that he was an alien amongst humans. It wasn't the tendency to turn on a sixpence between scientific contemplation and artful whimsy so exemplarised by Tom Baker, my Doctor. It was the Doctor's altruism and idealism I recognised and embraced the most. Whatever face he wore, whatever quirks may shape his personality, the Doctor always remained true to his purpose, to help. Didn't matter who you were, where or when you were, the Doctor would be there to help those who needed it. He always stood against the oppressor, the invader or the abuser, and did so without force. He never carried or used weapons, preferring to rely on his wits to carry him through, and a sonic screwdriver. Whenever another character on our side suggested aggression to the Doctor, he would always come up with an alternative that saved the day without the need for a massacre, and he never, ever asked for payment. It was offered over and over again, but it wasn't his motivation. He just wanted to help. He was able to help, So he helped, just as I always try to do. And it was a long time before I met anyone else who I could trust to feel the same way. I find it difficult to be selfish, to put my needs or wants ahead of others. We all have a point at which we feel able to distance ourselves from the consequences of our choices, a point at which we feel our own contributions are lost in the wash. But for me, that distance has always seemed to be much further down the line than for most of the people I met, and I've never reconciled that. The Doctor seemed to see things in a similar way. In the closing moments of Genesis of the Daleks, the Doctor holds the fate of the Daleks in his hand. By just touching two wires together, he can wipe out the destructive force they represent before they even exist. Nobody would ever have to fear the tyranny of the Daleks again, but the Doctor muses on all the other consequences. Alliances that would never be made, civilizations that wouldn't rise, and people who wouldn't even be born if he were to so change history. Like myself, the Doctor wasn't looking at the big picture so beloved of my teachers and later bosses, partners, well, everyone. He saw beyond it. For Donna to acknowledge how alien that quality of the Doctor's is to her serves as validation for every one of us who has found ourselves abused or taken advantage of for wanting to help or for doing the right thing despite personal cost. Whilst the Doctor himself has vented his frustration that his favourite species is capable of such great achievements whilst being so self-destructive, we've not seen a companion acknowledge quite how alien the Doctor truly is, and by extension, me. It felt like coming full circle. It's not just neurotypical people who can be selfish or thoughtless, and altruism and kindness aren't the sole preserve of autists and neurodivergents. I've come across plenty of very nasty autists and ADHDers, and have met many wonderful, kind, considerate neurotypicals too, including my amazing wife. Few people are intentionally selfish, and most will change tack if their greedy or self-serving choices are pointed out to them. Even less people are intentionally cruel or destructive, but that's not where the difference I'm talking about lies. It's not autistic good, neurotypical bad. It never has been. It's how we understand the motivations of other people that matters here. A prime example of how the double empathy problem has always been a factor in my own life. Let me explain. Empathy works best when we have personal experience to draw on. Double empathy is only an issue when two people have very different experiences to draw on. I understand the logic of selfishness, so I do my best to work it into my own theory of mind on a conscious level, but I've never actually felt that urge to willfully bypass, ignore, or even betray someone for my own benefit. So no matter how many logical conclusions I make involving selfish outcomes or based on selfish behaviour, I can't truly understand their temptation, not in the slightest. I know many kind, considerate and thoughtful neurotypical people who've never hurt me and don't appear to ever behave in a selfish manner, yet I've still found myself confusing them, sometimes to the point of anger, with my inability to comprehend selfishness. They may not act on their selfish urges, but they still know what such urges feel like. It seems alien even to them that I don't. As an autist, I have to do all the checks and balances in my head before I commit to anything. I don't like to be rushed. When I contemplate a choice that I worry might harm, upset, or just interrupt the flow of someone else's life further down the line, I shelve it and look for a better option. Very often I end up making a conscious choice that I know will bear consequences I'll regret, but I'm forced to act in the moment, and I can't think of a lesser evil at the time. It's one of many autistic thought processes of mine that's frequently been mistaken for procrastination, belligerence, or more recently, PDA. My brain isn't geared up for rash decisions or selfish ones, much like the Doctor's, and that's why I always stood out, with or without a diagnosis. As the Doctor changed face and personality with each regeneration, I wore many different faces as I masked my way through the neurotypical world, But it was always that quality I shared with the Doctor, of putting my own needs to one side for the sake of others because I can't think of another way, that always proved to be my undoing. There's plenty of other factors I could enthuse over that made The Star Beast a tremendous and fitting anniversary episode, as well as really enjoyable viewing in my opinion, but that's not the purpose of this review. I'm just glad we've got a TiVo box, so I was able to pause and rewind during Donna's speech, because I had tears of recognition streaming down my cheeks before she'd finished, and I had to compose myself before I could carry on. I've got to give Catherine Tate credit here as an actor. The uncomfortable feeling I get when she's on screen is actually a testament to how credible she is. Those old characters of hers reminded me so much of loathsome people from my past, I found her presence on screen awkward. And in The Star Beast, she delivered a performance that drew me to tears of recognition, so bravo. I know I wasn't alone that night in feeling seen in a way I rarely do. If that's the feeling that people talk about in my comments sometimes, then thank you. It means a lot, because it doesn't happen often. I know that Russell T Davies will continue Doctor Who's long tradition of inclusion and championing of the underrepresented, and this episode blazed fiery trails in more than one direction in plain sight. But I wonder if he knows how many of us were touched so deeply and related so closely to that singular observation of what makes the Doctor unique. 40 odd years ago, when I was sat in that porch in my pyjamas reading The Star Beast for the first time, I had no idea that I'd be writing about it again decades later. I didn't even know I was autistic then. Lorna Wing hadn't even published the work which led to that diagnosis, yet the spark it lit in me that morning was lighting in a boy in Wales that I never have and probably never will meet. But that spark connected the other Saturday night to make me feel that little bit less alone in the world. And that tells me one thing. Russell T Davies is doing a good job. Thank you for watching. If you've already liked and subscribed and would like to support the channel more, then please follow the Patreon links in the description to pledge what you feel is fair and affordable to help keep the lights on here and the content keep flowing. With it because nobody wanted to look beneath the surface